All right, welcome to another episode of Emotional Nightmares. I am your co-host. My name is Tyler.
I'm Nicole.
All right, and today we're going to do an episode. We're going to talk about relationships and red flags, more so about red flags when getting into them, what they are, and maybe what to look for in them. So, Nicole, tell me what you think about red flags.
I think red flags usually attract me by having shiny flares on it, and then I just run directly towards it like the bull that I am. Yeah, just full speed, usually, is how I like to do it. Yeah, so I find them very attractive, the red flags. Why is that?
Okay.
Why do I do that?
Okay. Well, I disagree a lot with red flags. I think that we as people are quick to say like, oh, that's a red flag, or this is a red flag, that's a red flag, and we're quick to throw around terminology, right? Where like you'll hear people, oh, this person's a narcissist, this person is this person is that, right? When realistically, like the world population is so low of what a real narcissist is.
Oh, for sure.
It's like a 1%. It's like the chances are you found somebody with narcissistic tendencies.
Right.
You didn't really find a real narcissist, right? But red flags, though, I think are like, what are you willing to deal with in a relationship, right? And we project that shit onto other people, where we'll be like, if you come to me and you're like, oh, so and so, I'm dating this person and like this, that, and the third, and it's like, oh, well, that's a red flag. Well, no, it's not. Right? Because it just means I'm not willing to deal with that in a relationship. So we're talking more boundaries than what we're talking red flags, right? Because for me, I think that a red flag is where like you'll see somebody and they'll be like, oh no, man, like you probably shouldn't date this person because that's a red flag, or they're doing this and that doesn't sound good, or that doesn't sound healthy. In general, right? I can say, I don't know, man, like that doesn't sound right. I don't think that this is getting off to a good start, but I can't tell you what a red flag is, because for you, it has to be on what are you willing to deal with and accept with in a relationship. You know what I mean?
Okay, so, I mean, when I think about people assigning red flags, I immediately go back to, I have this point of view that everybody is good inside, or they try to do their best. They're doing their best with what they've been handed. Mm-hmm. And, geez, sorry. I think that there is a boundary, and a red flag can definitely go hand in hand. But I think it's all about what makes us feel comfortable and what's scary to us, right? Because I think that because of how I was raised and how my life went, the things that are good for me give me the hardest trauma responses, and I will run away from them. I will literally, physically run away from them, and I don't care if that is in a different state or a different state of mind. It's something that I'm going to do. But yeah, at the same time,
I agree with that.
My whole life has been what I feel, right? I guess let me say it like that way. The way that I feel is people disrespecting my boundaries. And so I'm most comfortable with that disrespect. I'm comfortable with disrespect, I think, because it's something I'm free with, right? It's something that I feel the most secure. It's the place I know. It's the devil I know. And so I think that also takes a large part into consuming why. It's almost like, again, I find the red flags. I'm a magnet for those red flags and those red flag people. But I think it's also, again, like you said, what are you willing to participate in or not? Because everybody is most likely than not just wrapped up in their own drama and their own BS. And it really has nothing to do with us. And so what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to be involved and participate in what you can see, or are you not? right? So it's very complicated, very complex.
See, I think that you had broken to the trauma response, right? So like that's the red flag, right? So when we're talking about what is the red flag, it's really what triggers our trauma. Now,
Okay.
the real thing I think that lies in there and all of this is in certain relationships, right? It's you can be triggered in a in a trauma response, right? Like, okay, this I feel this kind of way because of this, that, or the third, right? And like we were kind of talking about this beforehand, was like my feelings are not real, right? My feelings are based off of a perception of how I see a situation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that the situation is real, but I'll create scenarios in my head based off of trauma, right?
Yeah.
Where a lot of times we'll say to somebody, well, this person struggles with a trust issue. They think, because like men and women can be friends, right?
Sure.
So,
I agree with that.
but like in a relationship avenue, it'll be, okay, well, you might have a problem with this particular friend of the opposite sex of like, why is this, da 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 da, and it's really what trauma happened to you to make you feel that this situation is going on, right? And like, if I like for me, like in a relationship, so if hypothetically, if my girlfriend was to tell me, this bothers me because of this, and this, then it really is me having, like, it would be me walking through that trauma with her,
Sure.
more or less, to say, is this a real situation? Because maybe it is, right? And at which point I have to look at my point, right? Because maybe I am wrong in a situation. But I also have to look at like what's really being said, and is there something that I need to do different, or is it trauma that that I'm trying to help the other person work through,
Sure.
right? And I think a lot of times, like, we'll say to people, oh, well, this is just a red flag because of this problem, and it's like, well, maybe there's trauma in there, right? And obviously there's red flags in the form of, you're dating somebody and, they're mad. So like they start, they physically assault you. Well, that's only going to get worse.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like or maybe it's not, right? Maybe it was just maybe that was that trauma response, right? But like this is something that like those two people have to figure out. And unfortunately, like, we sit back and we say, well, this situation happened, so it's wrong, and like that's a red flag, you need out of this relationship. And I think sometimes we steer people out of a healthy relationship that they could have communicated with and been healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so are you proposing that the idea, right? Is this your theory? Are you proposing that, like, the red flags are not actually the people, right? If I said to you, hey, your girlfriend has that red flag, you're proposing that the red flag is actually mine for seeing it because of my perception and perspective, or are you saying that like red flags essentially just don't exist?
I think a little bit of both.
Oh, okay. I mean, I can get behind it.
Right? Like I think a little bit of both, and I think we're saying like, hey, can you relax some on the flags? Like we're saying to people, like, don't, like, I can't come into somebody and be like, yo man, like you're in a toxic relationship, because what's toxic to me doesn't mean it's toxic to you.
Right.
Right? Because like what I'm okay with in a relationship doesn't mean that it's wrong, right? It just means you're not okay with it.
Right.
So your boundaries are different. Leave it alone.
Right.
And you see a lot of that, unfortunately, where like people will come in and be like, you're in a toxic relationship, man, you should get out. Everything's codependent. Everything is this. And we throw around all these terminologies.
The terms are obnoxious.
Obnoxious
it's a
as
social
fuck.
media thing. I mean, like, if you go
Oh, my
back,
God.
I mean, 10 years ago, everybody was bipolar, right? And people use that term so freely, you know, if you display emotion too much or too rapidly, people are still like, oh my gosh, stop being crazy, you're bipolar, right? And so now, in the age that we're in, that word has just been replaced with triggers or red flags or narcissism. And when you actually like get down into it, to what those things really are, I mean, I think that I've only met maybe I can count it on one hand, the people that I've met in a professional setting that are truly those things, that have serious personality disorders to where it affects their entire life. And you know, but we as society, like our culture, loves being popular. It loves bandwagons. It loves,
Well, we love throwing a label on shit.
I mean, all the way back to the Oregon
Right?
Trail.
Yeah.
We're gonna cross it.
We want to throw labels on everything,
do.
right? Like, we want to be able to say, well, this is an issue, so therefore this is the thing, and then like we want this universal issue.
Right.
And like a universal solution. And
the
that's
grass is greener kind of policy.
yeah, it's not real, man.
It's not real.
It's not real.
It's
and
greener
like,
because it's turf.
you know, and you know, it's crazy because like I see a lot of things, and like I'll watch things on YouTube and everything, and like I'll see people attack other people, right? Where they'll be like, oh, one of the ones, you know, we'll use this for example, is like I'll hear people that'll say, well, when dating somebody, this person has lower stock value because of this, that, or the third, right? Usually it's because like, well, this person has kids, I don't have these kids, like da 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 da. And like, why are we putting that value on people, right? And like,
Oh, I don't know. I mean, those things are important to me, though.
they're important, but they're important to you, but they're not a red flag.
Oh,
right?
well, no,
Where-
they're not a red flag.
You hear people that say that though. That'll
I
be
think
like
the person
ugh.
saying those things, that's the red flag for me. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you looking for so much negative things? The world is going to freely gift upon you negative interaction at all times. Don't look for it. It has to be exhausting.
I think
lot of
it's more
energy.
exhausting where I'll look at people and say, why do you have it? Like, I'll give you a good one. Like, I have tattoos all over my body.
Sure.
Right? Now, on a psychological aspect of it, like, I put them all over my body because, in all honesty, it was a poor self-esteem issue, right? And the more I got, it was now I felt better of myself. Because I felt covered up, right?
Okay.
Now I look in the mirror and I'm like, why did I get this, right? Like, why do I have a fish smoking a cigarette on my leg, right? Although I like him a lot.
I do like
right?
him.
But, like, everybody has an opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like, I tattooed my throat and it was, why did you do that? And it's like, oh, you shouldn't have done this, and this. That's terrible, that's this, and this. And it's like, but it's not you.
Right.
Like, you don't have to live with it. Like, I do.
Yeah.
And like I obviously was okay with it because I laid there and I let my tattoo artist, Chris, right? Give him a shout out. I let him drill my throat with a tattoo gun. It wasn't for fun. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
how many does it hurt did you get so far? Have you counted?
yeah,
You
I get
lost
that a
count.
lot too. Did it hurt? No, it felt great. You gonna go get one? You know? But yeah, no, like everybody, like, why did you do that particular? Why are you doing that? Or, you know, I had somebody say to me, like, I'm disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in the choice that you made to get that, right?
Yikes.
And it's like, why? You know, why?
That one's deep.
Yeah, and they were like, you know, I can't believe you got a false god's eye. And I'm like, well,
Oh.
I don't want to get into a religious talk with
No,
you.
yeah.
And like, your belief is your belief, right? And that's the toxic behavior.
Yeah.
That, like, just because I believe something doesn't mean I'm right. And it's not my responsibility to push that on you.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that is a red flag to me. right?
Yes.
Is if I believe something and I'm pushing it on you and saying, no, you have to do this, right? Because like I believe in a lot of things.
Right.
If you don't, that's fine. I'm telling you, like, this is my belief. This is why I believe that way. I feel this way. This is why I feel it. But I also understand that I might be wrong and you might be right. So why do you believe in that? And I think if we all just sat down and had better conversations where we would just say,
Communication's the
you
brain.
believe this, I believe this, why do you believe this?
Mm-hmm.
And we can also ask each other, what happened in your life to make you believe the way you believe?
Right.
Because it's a trauma a lot of times.
I mean, I would be crazy to say that the current friends, right? Let me, I guess, preface it that way. The current friends that I have in my life, if they were ever to be like, what are you doing? I would have to take stock in that at this point.
Yeah.
I would at this point in my life, because I have sought friends out who have things going on that I admire, right? That are working towards achievable goals, things that I want in my life. I'm searching for that. I want to manifest that energy. But at the same time, I am still me. I am still me. And I think that we let down ourselves and we let down other people by the unrealistic expectations that we have or that we devote to certain things, and that's to ourselves too. But when somebody comes to me and wants to talk to me about what I think are my boundaries or what I think is toxic and not toxic, or if I'm that person that is spouting off nonsense, I mean, I really have to look inward. Like, what's happening in my life that I feel that, one, it would be okay to, no one consulted me about their life. No one hired me to be their attorney that day, and yet here I am,
Right.
yeah, freely gifting away my advice for them. But I have to really think about, why do I have a different perspective of the situation in my head? Why do I have an ongoing fascination with the potential that I've created for somebody or for a situation, instead of like the realistic terms of being exactly what it is, how it is? Mm-hmm. And that disconnect, however big that gap is between what I want it to be and what I feel like the best potential is and what it actually is, that gap is like where your misery lives. For me, I just really feel that if I narrow down that gap and only think about what makes me happy, I mean, it's great. But if I make that gap bigger with other people's thoughts and opinions about what makes them happy and isn't true to myself, I'm gonna meet these red flag people. I'm gonna be that red flag person.
Yeah, I mean that's going to take you to your perception, right?
Yeah.
Like it always breaks into your perception, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I have people in my life where I'll purposely ask them, like, how do you see this, right? Because I know my perception is either wrong or it's not going to be, it's going to be jaded, right? Because there are certain situations in life where it's like, I can't give you an honest opinion because it's jaded, because like either my values or my beliefs have me feeling one way. So I can't tell you fully the real, right? I have to ask other people, like, here's the situation, what do you see?
Being
like,
aware of your own bias.
Yeah, more or less, right? Because perception is everything. And like, I think, like, we take that even to like back in the day during my drug addiction, right? Why did I get high? Well,
oh my gosh,
that's why, right? It was the perception, because it's not like drugs and alcohol were never my problem. Like, I'm the problem, right? And my problem is my perception on everything, because our perception shapes our reality, right? So for me, a lot of the time it was, I don't know how to handle life. I didn't know how to deal with life. I don't know the coping skills. So my perception tells me it's the end of the world. Everything's coming to the end. I can't do this. I can't do that. So self-esteem creeps in there. All these things creep in there.
Yeah.
Where the only outcome is, well, I might as well just do heroin, right? Or I might as well just do coke. And then I take away the drugs and the alcohol, I'm still left with this really bad perception,
Right.
where my perception tells me, well, this can't do this can't do that. So what do? I self-destruct, right? I'll purposely try to break things apart in my life, because why not, right? It's like, oh shit, I need that chaos or that drama. I don't know serenity, so I want chaos. So let me just
Right.
tear some shit apart because it's going to be fun.
Serenity is hard. It takes work, and chaos is fun and inviting, right? And there is no rhyme or reason. You get to just fuck shit up and live life, but you don't care about anything. There are outfits that I wore and things that I did and things that I said that I honestly thought was the shit. I mean, you think about being out there and being high, like, is shooting puddle water into my veins the very best choice that I can make at this time? It 100% is, because it looks clear to me.
Right.
So you think about what your perception is then, and it is so wild. But again, the problem was never me doing drugs. The problem was never me doing drugs. Mm-hmm. The problem was me being okay in my own skin and trusting myself and trusting my choices and trusting that I could be who I wanted to be without anybody else's influence, which, when you don't have your own identity, or you don't trust your own identity, you need that other person, right? You need those other people to tell you how to think and show you how to feel and things like that, because yourself is obviously not doing it right. Not doing it right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I know that you really significantly disbelieve in this idea, but I really do think that people should wait at least a year to make any serious relationship choices if they're doing anything compulsive. I don't care if you're gambling or if you're Facebooking or if you are shooting that pond water with your heroin. I do not care. I think that whatever you're struggling with, until you are okay in your own skin, you should never go near another person. It's hostage.
Agree.
It's a hostage situation.
I agree. Now go find somebody to do it.
I mean,
right? Because coming out of rehab.
Yeah.
When I went to rehab, you hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Don't get in a relationship for your first year. Da 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 da. I hear it. You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And ultimately, within the recovery community, we're really saying just what you just said. We're really saying, bruh, settle down. Don't make any major life decisions for the first year. Yeah, you're doing too much. So slow your roll. But at the end of the day, take away drugs and alcohol, right?
You're going to need to fill it with something.
Right. And you got this emptiness inside, and it's and then when we start going to the 12-step meetings, whichever program you choose.
Yeah.
But we're going to these meetings, we're going to these different things, or even in the mental health realm, right? Because in mental health, you still have group counseling, stuff like that.
IOP.
So you start going into these realms with people, and you're well, I feel comfortable with this person. Right? Because obviously we're trauma bonding, we're dumping our shit on each other.
Absolutely.
We're truly trauma bonding, right? Because that's another overused terminology.
Absolutely.
I see a lot, right? Where they're oh, this person and I were trauma bonding. It's shut up. No, you're not.
If I have to hear about another twin flame.
Oh my God, yeah, right.
I'm not going to look. I can't.
Yeah, I can't either. That and yeah. But you get all this realm, and it's where do you meet people? And then obviously you meet people in this program, or in that program in recovery, and kind of come together, and it's man, shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right. And when it does, I guess, and that's and what I hope people take from that is when it does, don't let your world fall apart.
Yeah.
Right. When it falls apart, you don't have to fall apart with it. And that's why it's important to have those positive people around you.
Yeah.
To keep you with that.
Those
right?
green flags.
Right. Because if I have those people that are constantly telling you what you're doing wrong, and they're constantly telling you this is, well, you shouldn't be doing this because this is this,
Right.
or this can be seen as this, then it's like, maybe, like, I have to look at it, right? But at the same time, it's like, because I've had people in my life that when I'm doing great in life, I can't ever find them, right?
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, but when I'm doing bad,
Right.
boy, they're there to be like, oh man, let me help you pick up the pieces.
Right.
And really what that is they are the ones that makes them feel comfortable, right? Because, like, remember, some people feel more comfortable when you're falling apart, because in all reality, they have a poor self-esteem image, or
Right.
they feel bad about themselves.
Right.
So when they can look at you, and I've heard people say this all throughout the years, was when you're struggling with something, help somebody else go through their issue. Well, that might not be a good idea,
Might not be.
right? Because if I'm struggling with something, me fixing your issue is probably going to be fucked up.
Right.
So it's like, at that same time, you have to people need to look at their motives and what is your motive behind this?
Yeah.
Because if your motive is, I'm going to help this person because I genuinely want to help this person, you're probably in the right. But if you're kind of breaking that person down in the same time of like, oh, well, you should be doing this, or like you're not doing this good, and when they're doing good in life, you're nowhere around.
Right.
Then in all reality, you were only there because when they were falling apart, you made you feel better about yourself.
So what would you call these, like the red flag for these people are that they want to take credit in other people's overcoming, that they want to take credit for, like, you were sad, but then I was here, and look at all these things I've done for you. Aren't I doing well? Look at me avoiding my own things, and aren't I doing well?
I mean, we know people like that.
We know lots of people. I mean, people are very peoply. I think again, I train dogs sometimes when I want to, and I do a lot of research on, like, dog behavioral science, because they're really a lot better than humans, and we don't deserve them, honestly. But I mean, it's just like with dog behavior, right? So patterns and mirrors, patterns and mirrors, patterns and mirrors. And it's so easy to see that because dogs can't talk, number one.
Right.
And number two, they don't have an ego. You know what I mean? So you can really break down everything any animal, it doesn't have to be a dog, does by needs and wants. And if it's a pattern, if this is a pattern in a mirror, did we see something else do it, and are we doing it because this is how we've learned, right? Because that's how we learn life. And so I think there is a part of the human experience that just is cringe. It's just we're going to have a pocket full of red flags because we are going to do the same thing over and over and over again because, one, it's comfortable, and because, two, I think it's just like the first thing we think of. It's the first thing we think of. And so we try to just go the best through life with, this is a really great idea. But like you were saying, if you don't have something in check, or don't know that, like, not everything you think in your own head is true. Not every thought is true. Then you can manage when you are throwing your red flags, or when you are covering somebody else in the red flag that is your nation from your country that you have stuck a flag on. And that's really difficult because we love company. We love company, and we tend to do the same thing over and over again. And so how do you fix that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you fix it in animals by positive reinforcement. And I'm going to tell you that it works the same for humans. Positive reinforcement, So if you get into a relationship where that person is not communicating well with you, like you said, like if you are able to sit down with them and be like, I feel this way. How did you feel? Oh, okay, you felt that way. I'm hearing you say these things, and you use this active communication skills that everybody has learned, and people kind of make fun of it because they're like, oh, let's talk about my feelings. Yes, talk about your feelings.
If you want to be successful, you need to.
You are just made up of emotions and water and chemicals that hit each other together and change into other things. And we just walk around through that world thinking that it's going to be acceptable to just be a stone at all times, and it's not. Like, the people that I look up to are able to express their emotions, not in a labile situation, right? Term of the day, I suppose. I shouldn't maybe use that term, but so labile means like to have an overexpression of mood one way or another that has no seeming reason, that's very expressive and dramatic. Okay, so labile. So you see these people all the time. But is that something I want to participate in or not? You know, I think that's what it comes down to, you know? So if people are just expressing themselves in a manner that is not labile, but, you know, just them truly having vulnerability, showing vulnerability, trying to express themselves with good communication. I don't care how corny it is or how, you know, people, I don't really care how corny it is or how people perceive that of them. That's strength to me. Like that mental tenacity to come back from what society says we shouldn't do. Right? And that's, we shouldn't talk about our feelings. We shouldn't show our feelings. You know,
so
I literally can't stand it. And I think that the best type of person to be in a relationship with is somebody who understands that we're all flawed and that we all have our own red flags, but that's willing to hold their own boundaries and be true to themselves while allowing you to have your boundaries and being true to themselves. And it's as soon as we start picking away at that, you know, like if more than one person tells you the same thing about yourself, there's probably something there. Right? There's probably something, maybe more than two. Maybe more than two people, there's probably something there. You should probably look into that, right? Maybe just take a long look in the mirror. You know, but sometimes what people do say to us are trash, you know? And so we should definitely be able to...
I think a lot of times it's trash. I think,
yeah.
You know, I think when it comes down to things, you know, that's the most valid point is like, if 10 people tell me I'm this, I'm probably that.
Probably.
Right? And like, you know, I think we all know our own relationship red flags, right? Because if you're in a relationship and the same shit keeps happening, that's your problem.
Right.
Right? Like that's not, like if I'm in a relationship and like the same thing keeps happening as far as like the other person, I can continue to blame it and be like, I don't know why this keeps happening in all my relationships. That means I need to look in the mirror,
right?
Because I'm the problem. Like, this is my issue. Like, so that's my flag, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, like, we throw that on to other people.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because that's easier, right?
It's so not much easier, but then it keeps us from doing any sort of real work on ourselves.
Yeah, blame other people so you don't have to take responsibility for your own actions.
Just continue to be a blob throughout life.
So much easier, right? So I think, and I think that's the issue that we run into a lot, where a lot of people project their own shit, not realizing like, nah, man, you're not healthy either.
Yeah, like
right?
What is projection? Does everybody know what that is?
Yeah, and like, I think we all know what projection is.
I mean, you would be surprised. Have you met the general?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The general
so
humans that are humaning right now.
Yeah, true. But no, I mean, I think we all understand. Like, I'm probably throwing my insecurities on you, right? Or I'm throwing my perception of the way I think onto you, and I can't. And that's the thing is that goes into expectations, right?
Yeah.
I can't expect you, like when I do group counseling, right? When I meet with people, I always will talk to them. One of the groups I'll do with people is I'll be like, "What is your definition of respect?"
Oh, I love that.
What's your definition of loyalty? What's your definition of recovery, right? because my view's different.
Oh, it's going to be different.
Right? And I'll be like, well, like one of my favorite things, like, and it's funny how many people will say this. You'll get all these people that be like, whoa, you have to earn respect. And I'll be like, well, who do you think you are? Right? Because I'll be like, man, you don't have to earn my respect.
Right.
Every human being on the face of this earth deserves my respect until we lose respect, right? Like, you can lose respect.
Sure.
Like, there's people out there that I've lost respect for. Like, I don't respect. And there's people out there that have lost respect for me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That happens, right? Because our values and our value systems don't match up. And it's like, well, I don't, like, that goes against my beliefs, goes against my values, so I don't respect you for it.
Right.
Right?
I have such a different perspective of like,
to say that it's earned is crazy.
I mean, think how many, and I'm gonna genderize it, because I mean, it really is culturally, I think across a lot of cultures, more of a gender situation where we are raising young men by saying, I'll respect you when you earn it, repetitively over and over, and usually in a time where they've done something wrong. But I mean, again, we're all doing the best with what we've got, you know? Right. So I don't think that it's like a purposeful negative thing that people even are consciously aware that's happening. But when you have the one person in your life who, you look up to the most, or is a huge figure for you, right? Like, let's say, aka your father, your grandfather, that one coach, whatever. And it's continuously that your boundaries are just being disrespected, but it's your fault because you didn't earn their respect. And I just think that is so toxic. Like, so what are you saying? Like, I can't. Well, it breaks my baby heart.
I think that is a great topic for a whole nother show. Right?
Yeah, I can definitely jump into that all day.
Because going into boundaries, although it has a lot to do with what we're talking about, and going into boundaries has a lot to do with all of it, I think it deserves its own slot.
Yeah.
So to say, right?
The slot is for red flags.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that it definitely does, because boundaries is very important, and I think that, because I think we need to break that down, and I would like to break that down on a show where we're talking about, because all boundaries really are values and beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And like, what do you believe in? What do you value? What are your beliefs and values? How are they shaped? How are they formed? And again, that even goes, it does. It goes into like, what are the red flags of a person? Yeah. And, I think what I hope that I would like to see is for people to be able to sit back and say, man, I don't know. Could be a problem. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out, right?
No, yeah.
Because to sit back and like, for any of us to sit back and say, bro, that's a red flag and you should get away from that.
Yeah.
Is crazy.
I just think that AKA means, bro, I wouldn't want to participate in that, and I would run away from that instead of directing it.
Or it's projection.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, I have a friend of mine, and I won't say, I have a friend, like I know somebody who they told me one time, they were like, I can't be in a relationship with somebody and have Snapchat. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, because I know what that's used for, and I'm like, right, that's what that's used for. But
that's what,
like,
either they
have used it for. That's what you're using it for, right? Or like, I've had conversations before, like the Facebook bullshit, right? Like, I hate social media. Like, it makes no sense. But where somebody's telling me like, oh, when they're hearting your pictures and stuff like that, like they're really trying to date you, and that's how you play this game. And I'm like, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not real.
It's not real.
I'm like, that might be what you're doing or what you're trying to do with it, but it doesn't mean that it's real, right? And I mean, I've actually heard that from multiple people, though, who've told me that. So that's fascinating because multiple people have told me that, and I'm like, that's weird, but it's only guys that ever tell me that, right? So I'm like, that's even more weird.
I would love to dive into that one.
Yeah, we're gonna, right? Because there's some weird shit that goes on social media that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
And again, that goes into values, beliefs, boundaries. What makes you think this is even okay?
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's toxic shit that we do that's like, bro, what made you even think that was okay to do?
Right.
What made you believe that was acceptable?
Yeah.
Right? And when I thought, and back to our drug addiction, like when I thought less of myself, I thought it was okay to do some wild shit.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when I liked myself and like grew to love myself, I'm like, damn, like I'm embarrassed that I even did half the shit that I did in my life because like, like that's not me. Right? It was at the time. But like now it's like,
it's a part of you.
Yeah. And now that it's like, man, I actually like myself. It's like, damn, why'd I do that to myself?
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. But
to be human.
Yeah. To be continued, right? We'll go. So next episode, I think I don't know what the next one will be. We're kind of just going off the fly here, but we'll definitely dive into boundaries. I think that's an important one for us to do.
I think boundaries are super important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Our red flag topic has
we went all over the place.
It's a red flag. It's in itself. It's fine.
Yeah. We started off good and we ended up all over the place. Right.
I'm okay with how we do things.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Keep watching. Make sure you like it. You subscribe to it. Leave a comment if you want. Again, we also are going to bring on guests on this show. Tell our story, right? Tell your story, how you deal with things, how you get through things, everything like that. So, if you want to be a part of, if you want to come on the show, please do. Leave a comment.
I would love to have somebody that we don't know.
Yeah, me too.
I would love that.
Absolutely.
Reach out for that.
Reach out to us. The links are in the profile for either Facebook or Instagram. Hit me on Messenger, whatever. Tell me you want to come on. We'll bring you on. Tell your story, tell your perception, tell whatever it is that you want, right? Like, this is to give the voice to people. So by all means, hit us up, like it, subscribe to it, hit the channel. That's it. Got anything you want to add?
Not right at this current second. I felt the need to say make happy hour happy again, but I don't think that's a good.
Thank you for watching.